What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Doug. For those of you that do not know, I'm very happy to see you guys here again today. We've got some awesome rain sounds in the background to kind of calm and relax you while you listen to me talk about Mac Miller and his album Circles. Yes, I did a first reaction for this album, and if you have not seen that, it would be nice if you watched that first to get some clarity and to understand where I'm coming from with some of these opinions, especially because, you know, the first impressions do matter when it comes to forming your later opinions as well. But in this one, this is kind of like a part two to that video. I'm going to be giving my final thoughts on this project, this beautiful album that he gave me. Now, normally, just me, particularly, normally when I do these final thoughts videos, I basically highlight just my favorite tracks and kind of do my best to highlight the positives instead of become very overbearing on the negatives. That's just the way that I like to approach these things. But with this specific album, I'm going to be talking about all of them because I really love every single song. You know, some more than others, and we'll get into that, but I have to mention all of the tracks because this so far is my album of the year. And so it's just lots of good stuff to talk about. So I'm excited to be here. I'm not even going to tell you how you can support the channel because you've been on YouTube long enough to know. So I'm going to let you do your thing. I hope you enjoy this video. I'm gonna do my thing. So we're gonna start off with obviously the introduction, Circles. I think that it is absolutely a perfect introduction for this project. It's super mellow, super laid back, kind of eases us into, you know, what he's going to be showing us in this project, basically just pouring out his heart and opening up his mind for us. And so this is kind of just like an ease into the project type of song. And he kind of talks about how his life feels like it's going in circles no matter how hard he tries to break the cycle, how hard he tries to change. It just doesn't matter because he always ends up right back at the start of the line going in circles. Definitely relatable if you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like you may be in a rut in your life. It's definitely going to comfort and ease some people's minds because they won't feel so alone. And that's particularly one of the themes of this project is I feel like loneliness. He talks about that a lot. And so I feel like if anybody is feeling lonely out there, maybe this is something that will comfort them a little bit and make them feel less alone. Beautiful laid back production, very warm performance from Mac vocally. I think it's great. Track 2, Complicated. Its instrumental shifts a little bit in terms of its mood from the previous track. The playful synths and groovy bass line play beautifully alongside the mellow drums and the really soothing leads. Mac sings about how complicated his life can get all the time and how he really just wants to go through one day, make it through one day without any complications, and how hard he's finding it to do so, which makes it very relatable for somebody who's feeling a little overwhelmed, somebody whose life feels like it's faster than they can actually keep up with, and they're just trying to make it through day by day. They can't really think about the future because they've just got to live in the now. Because the now is overwhelming enough. It's just a really great, well-produced song, and I think that I think that the plucked synth solos that go on later on in the track are just great. They sound beautiful, and I just like how wavy this track is. It's got a really nice kick back and relax kind of vibe to it. Blue World is the next track. It's got a really nice sample. They chopped it and processed it into this really bouncy, fast-paced synth. It fits the vibe of the rest of the track really nicely, in my opinion. Mac's delivery is as smooth as it can be, dude. It is relaxed, it is confident, it is laid back. He just feels like he is in his zone. The drums aren't too crazy, but they do their job, their fair share of the work, providing some of the bounce that kind of gets us bobbing your head a little bit and really vibing to the track. And it's probably one of the more light-hearted, fun songs on the project. Not necessarily in subject matter, but definitely in the vibe. Good News is the next song, and I actually gave my final thoughts on Good News in the reaction video for this project because by then I had listened to Good News as the single, and so that was where I gave my my concluded final thoughts on the song. But I'll provide some information here. It's one of my favorite tracks. It's absolutely great in its production. It was brilliant in including that as the sample because it kind of shows us how complete this project was actually going to be. You know, we heard a posthumous Mac Miller album and we were afraid of it being kind of unfinished and unpolished. And so Good News was just a breath of fresh air as soon as we got it. But also the subject matter is just insane, how it feels like he almost knew he was going to pass away soon. and he's kind of like easing us into that idea, talking about how lonely he was and how it felt like nobody truly cared about him, how it felt like nobody really talked about him, and just felt like, he just lived his life behind closed doors, and just not having anybody around him. And it's really sad, it's heart-wrenching, but it's a beautiful song, and the instrumentals contrast the lyrics in a very nice way. Now, from what I understand about I Can See, it's about being able to finally see just how far he feels like he's fallen from the top, and kind of looking at his life from a different perspective, and being able to see his actual situation for what it is, and not just be blinded by it and not feel so overwhelmed by it. I think that the instrumental is extremely spacey. It's got the shimmering bells, the heavenly vocals from Ariana Grande. The soft string machines really do a nice job of adding some background noise and some nice higher pitched melodies. The drums are very low key. They're very laid back. They're not very in your face, they're not very loud, and there aren't too many fills. And everything about this just kind of feels like it's a dream, kind of feels dreamy. Mac's performance as well. It's just all very ethereal and spacey, and very dreamy is really the only way I can describe it. I think it's wonderful. Everybody is a brilliant cover of Arthur Lee's Everybody's Gotta Live. It's definitely a testament to Mac's songwriting, because at first I didn't realize that it was a cover. I didn't know that it was a cover until I looked up the song on Genius. What's a testament to his writing is that before I knew it was a cover, I had no problems believing that something so soulful and so poignant was actually written by Mac Miller. I had no trouble believing that this was an original by him, and that he had written this and made this song from what he felt and what he had inside of him. I never doubted his capabilities to create something so beautiful. It's my favorite track off the project. And I think that in itself, the fact that it's a cover, but it's believable for somebody who doesn't know that it's a cover. It's easy for them to believe that it comes from him originally. That's just a testament to the quality, the soul behind his music, the actual feelings and emotions there. The production on this track, I think, is great. The pianos really rock with Mac Miller's vocals. The drums are probably the more in-your-face drums that we get on the entire project. And I just absolutely love this song. It's one of the ones that I have on repeat consistently. So, Woods grew on me. Woods at first wasn't one of my favorites. It's definitely got a whole nother vibe to me now. It really grew on me a lot. Took a little bit of getting used to. I wasn't a huge fan of the chorus the first time I heard it, but now I love the groove between the bass and the drums. I really like the strings, the laid back pads as well. They kind of provide some depth, some layers to the music. Mac's use of rhythm and flow in his performance is just great. I love that he utilizes the space and kind of lets the instrumentals fill in those gaps. I mentioned it in my reaction video that he always knew so well when to speak and when not to speak, and let the production just kind of shine through. And it never felt like he was a rapper on a beat. It always felt like he was a rapper working in conjunction with the beat to create this atmosphere, this vibe. And the beat was just as important as he was. There are some rappers that you could just take their lyrics and throw them on top of any well-produced beat and they'll just sound great. But other rappers really know how to bring out the best in the actual beat that they're using. So that's something that really stood out to me on this track. The lyrics about a relationship going wrong are really relatable. You don't necessarily want to let go of the person, or you don't want to lose them, but at the same time, nothing in the relationship is really working out and you're just not compatible. It's a really frustrating situation to be in, and I think that he paints it really well in this song. Hand Me Downs is also a personal favorite. The Baro Sura feature works really, really well. I love that he's on the chorus. I'm not sure why, whether it was something that Mac planned with him and had going with him while he was alive, or whether he had Baro sing it, John Bryan had Baro sing it because Mac wasn't around. But whatever the case is, he sounds great on the chorus. It's the only feature on the project, credited feature on the project, I should say. Mac's performance on this song is really interesting and captivating, and just the smooth Rhodes keys, the jazzy guitars, the bass, they create such like a warm, familiar, comfortable atmosphere, comfortable vibe while you listen to the song. That's just awesome to listen to. Mac kind of describes his state of mind, trying to minimize his stresses and still feeling like his life is kind of running away from his control. running out of control a little bit. He feels stuck, lonely again. The loneliness comes into play. I think that to top things off, that warbly little solo that plays us out towards the end is just beautiful. So it's another really great song. That's on Me also had to grow on me a little bit. I used to kind of get lost in the chorus and zone out and not really hear anything that was going on in the song. I finally was able to deal with that and really appreciate the chorus without losing myself in it too much. It's very catchy. Mac's verses are beautiful. They're very well written, although I don't think that needs saying or pointing out. Mac was a very talented songwriter. I really like his singing performance. I like his passion. He was always so great at conveying the emotions through his actual performance and getting us to feel those same emotions by the way that his voice sounds, the way that he inflects his words, and things like that. And the guitars and the bouncy keys really make for a very interesting swing. I do believe the song is in 6/8. So that just kind of gives it that extra swinging feel to the song. It's really nice. The next track is Hands, and to be honest, it's my least favorite. I'm just not a huge fan of that sample that they used and of the actual chord progression, and I do kind of mention that in my first reaction as well. My opinion hasn't really changed in that aspect. I think that Mac's verses are nice, but just the track itself just doesn't really do it for me. The production doesn't really do it for me. I don't skip it on every single playthrough, but I would say that 50% of the time maybe I would just kind of skip it. Listen to it for a little bit, just kind of get some of the gist of Mac's verse and skip it, Luckily it's a short song. And next is Surf. Man, Surf is such a sweet little tune. Catchy. I love the guitars, the low-key bass line in the background. It's so great, man. Mac is so charismatic. He's so soothing in his performance, his vocals. I had someone in the comments section describe his voice as really just interesting. And that's really it. His voice is interesting. He's not the greatest singer or anything like that. He can't do crazy riffs and runs, but there's just something so compelling about his voice. You know what I mean? So it's so much charisma, so much emotion, passion, love for his craft, that you can just hear it in the song, in the music, and his vocals. I really like the catchy little hook. The only real gripe that I have with this track is that little distorted guitar solo, the lead that comes in. I think it is a little harsh. I think that maybe a little less volume would work, and having it come in when no one is speaking would probably be the best approach. It does kind of drown out Mac's vocals, and I was hoping that with headphones on it wouldn't be so harsh, but it actually is. It kind of overpowers the rest of the music, so I just believe that it should be a little quieter, but it's still a fantastic track. And the last song is Once a Day, and it's one of my favorites. It's the perfect way to top this project off and close it out. It's just incredible songwriting from Mac, honestly. There's almost no production to it. The little keys and the very minimal percussion that I believe John Bryan added in the background are just phenomenal. I'm not much of a crier, but of all the tracks, this is probably the one that got me closest to actually losing it. And it was it wasn't even on my first listen that this song caught me. It was on the subsequent listens that this one really just kind of punched me right in the gut. You know what I mean? So it's just a beautiful song. It's got perfect production and a really pleasant melody. Mac's performance is just phenomenal. There's not enough good things to say about Once a Day. I just think that it's really awesome. That's kind of the rundown of the track list. General thoughts on the project. It's definitely my favorite album of this year so far. I believe it is better than all of the other January drops. And in January we got Modus Vivendi, which I'm a huge fan of. Music to be Murdered By, which I gave a 7.5. I really think that it's Eminem's best project in the last few years. It's the best that I've heard him in a while. I really enjoyed it, honestly. I think that it was overhated. And this is still, it's got to be put above any other project that came out this year so far. It really takes the cake. The way Mac explores his emotions, his psyche, relationships, love, loneliness, all those topics is just phenomenal. It's a really awesome experience to listen to this project. I think that John Bryan did an excellent job of polishing off the project and making it sound complete. It doesn't sound like anything was left unfinished with Mac's passing, which is awesome, honestly, and all of it feels very natural. All of it feels like it has that Mac Miller essence to it. It doesn't feel like anything was placed there that Mac would have vetoed, honestly. And so props to John Bryan for that. He really made it feel special, complete, and true to Mac Miller. and his sound. And what I believe to be his vision for swimming and circles. I really can't say enough good things about this project. I rank it up there with last year's projects like Igor, Norman effing Rockwell by Lana Del Rey that I had as my album of the year. I absolutely adore that project. IDK's Is He Real, which was in my top 5 projects of last year. And this has got to be just as good, if not better, than all of those. So I definitely hold it in very high esteem. I really enjoyed it. I personally think that this album deserves a very solid 8.5. I love it, and I really don't have much else to say about it. I could just go on all night complimenting this thing, So that's the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Like I said, you know how you can support the channel. Links to my social media and the Patreon are in the description. As always, I will see you in another video very, very soon. Stay safe, and lastly, rest in peace, Mac Miller.